Hello everybody, this is Brad from Earthwide Homes, and this is round 2 of the video that I'm recording to talk about how to analyze comparables when you've received market data from a realtor, when you ask for a report on either how much your house might be worth, or when you're looking to sell, or if you're looking at a neighborhood for certain types of properties. When you know what you're looking to buy, they'll send you what is known as a CMA, or a comparative market analysis, at least an abbreviation. And within a certain amount of time, usually about 6 months, and they'll give you that data or present to you that data. And so I just wanted to go over how some of that will end up looking. I'll just switch to the right screen here. That should probably be up by now. So where my mouse is here in kind of the middle of the screen, this my stream number 0. That was my first attempt at this video, and it didn't turn out so well because I didn't have the audio settings set up properly for the recording of this to be properly. Anyways, here on the screen you can see, well, hopefully you can see. Anyways, the screen's black on my side, but hopefully you can see over here. This is kind of the first thing that shows up in the back office when a realtor will send you this information if you're not getting it printed and presented to you in person. So for the property that I'm looking at right now, you can see that there's actually 17, you may not be able to see it all, properties that are have been pulled up as potential comparables for the area. Listing under this listings heading, these E numbers are the individual numbers for each house, and then their prices are listed right beside them for very quick analysis. Here on the main screen, you can see a better breakdown of the information, the neighborhood, the listed price, the sold price, number of bathrooms above grade, below grade, if the basement's fully finished, total square footage, description of the property, a small icon view of some pictures that you can change. You can also click on this and make it bigger as it's coming up here, and then continue to flip through those different things. These pictures are very helpful when you're looking at the comparables and numbers. We'll get back to that in a minute, but you can really help drive why the price was the price with the pictures and things like that. A pile of other data in here, so number of bathrooms of different pieces, 3-piece, 4-piece bathrooms, listed in both, so the property will be listed in both meters and square feet, just for metric and imperial for those who work in both or either. Different measurements for the different rooms. Those are sometimes tough to visualize for people. Different construction materials, so for the framing is wood here and asphalt shingles here on this particular house that we're looking at. Forced air means that there's a furnace in place instead of it being like oil heated or things like that. You see more out east in the first settled sort of areas. Foundation is concrete instead of like brick and things like that for older houses. Goods included is like usually appliances, what's going to be included as far as appliances, and then restrictions and all sorts of other good stuff down here. They'll usually also tell you the taxes on that property for that year, so that can be helpful in if you're having to calculate like monthly expenses and things like that. Some people, the zoning is important, the front exposure, so you know which way the house is facing, all those things. Just tiny little things that are in here that may matter to some people, may not matter to others, but that are good to know. If you're on the investing side, just getting started, or if you're experienced, you're probably quite familiar with these sheets, how it's laid out and whatnot. It's something to really learn, so that when you start picking out the things that are important to you, you can flip through them faster, get the information out that you need a little bit easier and faster, so you can make your decisions quicker. Yeah, that's kind of the rough breakdown of these things here. What my realtor does She sends me also an optional view here, and it's the CMA Summary, so the Comparative Market Analysis Summary. And it lists all the 17 properties and gives some mathematical numbers and stuff to analyze and look at there. It's a fine way to look at it in this sense, but if you want to work with it a little bit or do some different things, I find it easiest to get over and dump it into Excel, and then you can work with it from there. So you can see here the number of listings here at the top row is 17, and all their respective data is here in this block that I've highlighted. And below is the original data that was provided in the sheet. I really hope that that was recording properly. And then what I've done on this particular property is there's a section here of under 410,000 properties in this list that were sold under 410,000. The reason for that is the properties that are here, that are listed here, when I was talking with my realtor about the different properties, we determined that the properties that were over 410,000 didn't really fit with what we're looking at as far as a true comparable to the property that I'm looking at. The property that I'm looking at, the like technical term would be the subject property. You'll see that when you get to like lawyers and realtors documents as far as offering and things like that. So my subject property in this one isn't in this list, but it doesn't fit for those ones. So I redid the math and all the information down here for the properties in this list that are under 410,000. As you can see, this is just a faster update of the key metrics for the properties that were listed in the CMA. Gives their address, the community they're in. When you're looking at the community, different communities, you want to make sure that a realtor is providing you communities that make sense for your area. You don't want to stray too far away. It's typically, if you can, you typically don't want to cross like any major roads. Like around like from roads in Edmonton, that'd be like the Henday, or even major roads like 75th Street going north-south in Edmonton, or the Yellowhead, White Mud. Those are major roads. And other major thoroughfares, like you wouldn't want to cross 170th or 149. Some of those major roads that are doubled up and wide, they kind of can change the metrics across that road even. So you just part of being aware of where you're buying and what you're buying is to know those areas and ask your realtor if those things change and why those things change in those areas, if you're seeing what they might be, and maybe ask them to redo the comps with a bit of a different area. The type, this is just talking about the house a bit. So these are mostly detached garages by the looks of it. Not super familiar with DUPU at this point, and I think the this second line is just a misnomer from copying and pasting. Anyways, the style of houses, these are all bungalows. You can see here, all going all the way across that row. So you could get 2 stories, you could get maybe raised bungalows, you get all sorts of different listings, condos, duplexes, triplexes, things like that in this area. So something to watch for is to make sure that the CMA is quoting the right kind of houses. So if you're looking at bungalows, make sure you have bungalows in your CMA and you're not tacking in a 2-story just because the price happened to match up or the number of rooms and bathrooms matched up or something like that. It could just be a comparable that doesn't fit. In this situation here for these comps, the basement development, it's all fully finished because these are all houses that have legal basement suites in them. And that's the type of property that I'm looking at as well. It's actually an investment property that has 3 beds up, 2 beds down, and 1 full bath in each unit. So I'm going to be going to see that one in a couple days here to see it in person, but just doing some of my analysis so I can go there and be ready to, sign some contracts if we need to. The year built, that's a nice one to watch. It's often going to be very consistent depending on the neighborhoods that you're in. This neighborhood is quite a bit older, so these foundations might need some more inspection, things like that. the year built isn't going to tell you a lot about anything other than maybe if the property was redone or knocked down and rebuilt at some point, you'll see, instead of it being conforming like this, you'll see something much newer, like maybe a 2012 or a 2016 or something like that in there. That'll tell you for sure that that may or may not fit into your comparables as far as pricing goes. Oh, excuse me. Again, this is beds number. It's a bit tough to see this one because it's literally just all of the beds. It's not necessarily up and down taken into consideration. But when you kind of know the properties you're looking at, like these ones, I'm sure they're pretty typically going to be all 3-bed up, 2-bed down. The ones that are 4 beds total is probably 2-bed up, 2-bed down, situations like that. And then this one over here that is 3-bed and 2-bath. That's probably 2 beds up and 1 bed down, as far as the property size matches up with that. So the square footage here also lines up. So they squeezed a 3rd bedroom out of this one, even though the square footage is very similar. So you can expect these bedrooms on the main floor to be a little bit smaller probably. And that's the bed and baths. Couple assumptions you can make around that, but again, not a major effect of how you're going to analyze this stuff. It's just good knowledge to be double checking this stuff to see if it's truly going to be a comparable to what you're looking at. The square footage of the houses is an important number to look at. You know, like a 920 square foot house compared to a 1200 or 1250. Over here is a 1250. Those are 2 very different houses. There's quite literally 300 square feet extra in the one house. That means there's a lot more comfort room, bigger kitchen, bigger living spaces, bigger bedrooms, bigger bathrooms, potential for en-suites. All those things happen when you get a bigger house, and there are good reasons to justify why you might pay more, why the sellers are asking for more. These are reasons where this is a space where the realtors are going to negotiate for extra money on and things like that. And it's good to know what the average size in that neighborhood is. So if you're buying a bigger than average house or a smaller than average house, or what you're really getting into and how it's gonna fit into the neighborhood in the years to come. Moving on, days on market. Days on market's a really key indicator. It really is a good teller of the actual how hot your market is when you're looking at these neighborhoods. Again, it depends a little bit, especially in Alberta. We're very cyclical depending on the season. If it's winter, it's slow. If it's summer, it's going to be a little busier. That's just always going to happen in Alberta. Now, busier or hot or busy, those are all sort of subjective terms depending on what the real estate market is really doing. Being that it's the middle of July in 2017 right now as I record this, Alberta's been pretty slow or flat after a couple of years of declining. Edmonton's been quite protected through that if you're been part of the real estate industry for a while, whereas Calgary has been hit really hard. Things are sort of even, and there's a lot of talk right now about people thinking that we're in like the bottom of the trough and things are going to even out, and we might see some climbing over the next period of time. Who knows how long? I'm not going to put my opinion into this video. I want to stay focused on the comparables. So, but the days on market is a good way to tell where you might end up being. So, you know, if you end up spending 156 days waiting for your house to sell, that's a long time to wait. So if you're moving and you need to get that cash sooner, you may need to adjust your price more. If you've got other things, if you've already bought another house or this or that, or who knows, there's lots of situations that are going on. If you're pushing a long time to wait in a neighborhood because that's consistently what that neighborhood is showing, then you need to have that information so you can plan for those for yourself and for your future. When you look at the days of market, we'll quickly just flip down to my under 410K down here. The average in these homes is 61 days. So that's 2 months of waiting for a home to sell. So when you're looking at selling in this area, you can expect to wait on average 2 months. The median, the true middle ground, is 55 days. So it's still pretty close to 2 months. So there's not a lot of difference there. So you need to plan around that. Whether you're thinking of listing first and then trying to find some place to buy later, you have some time on your hands, but you might want to try and play with that timing a bit. And if you want to adjust that timing yourself, like if you have no reason to sell fast and you want to try and get a higher price, then maybe pushing your price up and knowing you can wait further is an option for you, as a tactic you can use. Is just time, put time on your side to wait and find that right buyer that's interested in your house. On the flip side, if you need to move your house faster, then lowering that price is going to dramatically affect your days on market. Usually the better deal that somebody feels they're getting for a home, the faster it's going to move. And if you can afford to not have, list your house $5,000, $10,000 lower, that's a lot of money, but sometimes speed means a sale, and sometimes speed is more important than all of the dollars in your bank account. So you can see, if you follow across this table, there's some properties that moved very fast. This one at the 438 mark was gone in 4 days. There's a couple of 11s and a 12. So some of these properties are moving very fast. So those ones might be things to pay attention to, why they sold so fast, and see if there's anything in there that you can your realtor can help replicate, or maybe they're just due to renovations and other things that maybe you're not in a position where you can replicate. List price, well, that's just it. It's the price that the realtor started the property at. So when they first put it out on the multiple listing service, or the MLS, where they list it up on realtor.com or realtor.ca, that's the starting price that they got to. Just good to know, because you can use it to compare some other numbers later. The sold date is a valuable metric, just to make sure that your realtor is pulling things that are somewhat recent. Like I say, about 6 months is pretty common. That's still going to be pulling some wintertime stats versus summertime stats, but you're not going to be able to get perfect stats when the market is what it is right now. It's also to make sure that you have enough data in your evaluation. Sometimes when realtors go to pull 6 months worth of homes, depending on the house type you have, if it's an acreage in a small area, or if it's a home in a small town, there may only be 2 or 3 houses that sold in the last 6 months. So you might want to go out to a full year's worth of homes to get, a few more houses to look at, and try and look at the trends and see where you're at and see how things are going overall. Then you can get the prior summer's data into that house. Sold price is the real number that house sold for, as agreed upon between the buyer and the seller. So that's good to know. That's the real number. That's what you can expect. Those are the numbers used to really drive and expect what you can get for your property. And then below that is the sold price compared to the overall square footage of the house. So this is where I was saying the realtors and yourself and myself and everybody can use the square footage to really help drive price. You'll often see the direct comparison. More square footage typically means that you'll get more for that house. Now again, that changes because of different things done inside and outside of the house. A fully done up house that's recently renovated at $926 might sell for a lot more than a house that's really beat up and needs a ton of work for 1203 square footage, right? So those are just different things, how things can be different, things to evaluate for yourself, and knowing what you're aiming for. If you don't mind doing the work and you can afford to get a bigger house for less money, mind you, you're gonna have to do the work, or maybe you're looking at flipping if you're on the investor side, then that's what you're going to be looking for. But if you're out there just looking to have a realtor help you find a house that you can live in, these things, knowing whether you're okay with some work, lots of work, no work, is going to help determine what's available for you. And any good realtor, actually all realtors, are going to be asking you those kinds of questions. They don't want to bring you to houses that they're not going to be able to get you into or sell or make their commissions and things like that. Like they're out there to make sure they can get you to say a yes, right? They're salespeople at the end of the day. So, so getting into the breakdown here, the under 410K, there's 4 main columns that they will use to sort of help analyze all these numbers, because it's pretty tough to look at 17 columns of information and really make some good analysis without breaking it down. Excuse me, I got the hiccups a little bit. So your average numbers here, your minimums, your maximums, and your median numbers, they're all a little bit different. Average is pretty common number. Everybody really understands what an average is. It's all of the numbers added together divided by the number of numbers. So literally for the floor area in square feet, you would take all of these numbers, you would add them all together, and then you would divide it by 17 because there's 17 properties. And so then if you took all 17, the average number over here for square footage is 1076.88. So when I look at the properties I have for just the under 410K, on average, the houses are a little bit smaller because we've knocked off some of those higher priced houses, and obviously they were a little bit bigger. That's how you get your averages. So they're pretty basic numbers, and they're okay. Averages are only so good. Your minimums, it's nice to know what so this will say, like, this will be the youngest property in the list. The least amount of bedrooms, the least amount of bathrooms, the least square footage, the least days on market. So this doesn't mean that this is all from one property. It could be from any property, but in my under 410,000, the property that sat there the shortest was 11 days. So that would be one of these two properties here. There was two of them in this case. Whereas the house itself, let's try and find a number that it wasn't that. The sold price 281. So this 281 too, even though that's the lowest house price that sold, wasn't part of these two over here. 281 is somewhere in the middle here. Anyways, it's not really relevant where it is, but so it's a different house altogether, and that's something to pay attention to. When you're looking at these numbers, it doesn't mean any one particular property, it's just the lowest number in all of the information that you're looking at. The maximum, of course, is the opposite of that. So the newest house built in there, the house with the most bedrooms, the most bathrooms, the largest square footage, sat on market the longest, had the highest list price and the highest sold price, and then the highest price per square foot that somebody paid for a house. Median is a really great number, really great mathematical analysis of numbers. It's the true middle ground, whereas average is taking all of the numbers and finding sort of a middle. Median is the true middle. It finds exactly the middle of the spread of numbers. Excuse me. So this is often the number that I'll use more when we're looking at homes, because it's once I've pared down the numbers to comparables that I really feel are accurate and in the middle, then this will really find the true numbers to what I'm looking at for the properties in question. So you can see that the median age is a little bit newer versus the average age. Beds and baths is exactly the same. The median size, the true middle ground size of these houses is a little bit smaller. They sold a little bit faster and things like that. So, and you can tell here that the sale price per square footage is down a bit. So in this case, on my side, if I was buying a house, yeah, the median numbers I would use for sure, because they're gonna give me more leverage when looking to negotiate on price. But really, the difference being 321 versus 325, that's $4 a square foot. You're talking about $4,000, and in real estate, when you're buying for hundreds of thousands of dollars, oftentimes people can get around or get over a hurdle for around $5,000. So it's just a small key point. To use this number and show you what it means really is, if the median sale price of these homes is this, and these are the comparables. So then what I would do to get a rough idea of the value that I could truly see for the house that I'm looking at buying is here. I would have this is my final number. I can go up top here to the formula bar, and the square footage of the house that I'm looking at buying is 1,194 square feet here. So I multiply that by the 321.42 of the median sales price per square foot, and when it does that math, it comes up with $383,000. which is pretty close to what the realtors got it listed at. They actually had it listed at $379,900, so $380,000. But you know, being a good salesperson, he's lowered that by $100 to try and make the numbers optically look better to a consumer. Good grocery store tactic there. So he's got it priced right at a good spot. That's where the median is nice, because maybe it looks a little bit more attractive versus trying to use the 325, because then you'd be sitting up around 390 more, and maybe that doesn't look as attractive to people. So anyways, that's the numbers. That's how they're displayed for common situations. You can ask for more detailed summaries from your realtors. There's options for that. Depends how good your relationship with your realtor is, if they're going to provide that and whatnot. If you're just starting out, looking for a house for maybe a first-time home buyer, or maybe downsizing after having lived somewhere for a long time, you know, and you're just picked a realtor through your friends and family and whatnot, they may not go for putting out tons of information that you may or may not truly understand. There's understandably some hesitation there, just because nobody likes to spend a bunch of time on something and then not have it really valued by the people they're presenting it to. So anyways, those are the numbers. Those are what I when it comes to the houses. Switch back to the video view here, and those are the things that I look at when I'm looking at valuing a property. Now, this is not so good. I gotta get a better camera for this. Excuse me for that. Anyways, there's different things you want to look at when you're looking for different reasons. So if you're out there looking at a house to buy and live in, which would be your principal residence, again, that's the real estate specific terminology for it. Your principal residence is the house that you live in as an owner. When you're buying that house, you're looking for different things, obviously, than if you're on an investment side of things. So getting to know whether, again, like I was saying earlier, how much work you might be interested in doing, how new you want the property to be, condition of foundation, newer house, older house, renovated house. All those things help you working with your realtor. And then also on the other side, for investing, there's the other different reasons you're going to look at stuff. If you're going to look at buying to be a rental, then you want to look at, you're not as much worried always on price. You can look at things for better reasons. Like it's okay to buy right in that market value, especially if you think the market's down. You can buy at market value and expect to see some increase in property value, and then get an equity play as well in the property and mortgage pay down. In the flipping zone, then you want to obviously just buy as low as you can, but what those market comparables are going to tell you is that you can set your after repaired value, or ARV, based on those numbers. So when you look at those finished and fully renovated houses, you can tell if your renovations are going to line up in that place, or if they're going to not, and make your cap or your ceiling on what you know you can get or feel you can get for a final price on your house. And then you can plan to come down from there for where you need to buy based on budget for renovations, holding costs like interest rates on money borrowed to buy that property, lawyering costs, realtor costs. There's a lot of things below there to make your margin, plus your profit margin. You always want to make sure there's some of that in if you're flipping. So anyways, those are just a few things of different ways to tweak why you're looking at those numbers, or what numbers you're going to evaluate. Like I was saying with the rentals, again, it's fine to pay fair market value at the end of the day. But you can decide too with these numbers if you're buying fair market value, if you're buying under, if you're buying a little bit over. And you can, when you know those numbers, you can get comfortable with whether that's going to still be a good purchase or not. You might be able to buy it under market value, but see that it needs a bunch of renovations, which is going to cost you more than market value. You might want to just move on and find something that is at market value that's done. So the numbers are important. The numbers always make a difference, and the more knowledge you have, the better negotiating power you have. numbers, that's what I have for them. If you have questions, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to answer them. Leave comments below on the YouTube channel, or get a hold of me through your Instagram or Twitter, anywhere that you can have us see a social network. I pretty much have a profile there. You can also email me. It's just info@earthwidehomes.com, or the website is www.earthwidehomes.com. And until next time, I'm going to sign off, and we can chat later. Have a great night, and hopefully you got some value from this video.